Okay, so today I'm going to share with you some monotypes that I made and just talk a little bit about the monotype printing process. So monotypes are a printmaking process. Mono means one, so they are a one-of-a-kind print, meaning that you can't make an addition of them like you can with like linoleum block printing or even silk screening. You can make more than one by continuing to print through the screen. Monotypes aren't like that. What you're actually doing is kind of creating a painting on a plate and then transferring it to a piece of paper. And so the process of transferring is where the printmaking comes in, but it's a one-of-a-kind printmaking. So there's two different kinds that I'm showing you today. The one on the left is what I call an additive or light field monotype. And so for that one, what I did was I took a plate, I painted the image on the plate, and then I transferred it onto paper using the printing press. And so it's called light field because the light of the paper is showing through, kind of has this cool translucence quality of light. The other one on the right is what I call a subtractive or dark field monotype. And so this is another type of a process where the entire plate is actually covered with a thin layer of ink, and then I worked out the image by removing some of the ink with different tools, so like cotton swabs, Q-tips, the backs of paintbrushes, and just kind of pulled away and worked subtractively. And then after that, the plate went through the press with paper and the print came out. Now, after that, you can probably see that there's more than one color in that print, and that's because I also retouched that print afterwards with some other mediums over top. So that's something that we'll get into as well. But for today, I just want to show you how to do I just wanted to introduce you to some different printmaking processes. Okay, so the really good paper for printmaking is in this bottom drawer here. I just keep it here because it's really close to the press and so you can find it really easily. The paper is a cotton rag paper. The type that I really like is Reeves BFK, but there's also some Canson papers that come in different colors over here. So you could check out the different tones that are in here and decide for your piece what color you would like to have show through the piece in the background. So there's white, there's cream, there's kind of like a gray color typically in here, unless we run out of certain colors. So that's where the printmaking paper is. Okay, and so down in these cabinets underneath the printing press is where I keep a lot of the supplies for monotype printing. So in here, there's a couple of things that I'm going to point out to you right away. So there's extra brayers on the bottom shelf on the right. There's plates and then also felt, which we'll use sometimes for the monotypes. So the plates you'll definitely be using for monotypes. And then in the back, there's extra spreader plates to use. This is great for applying ink if you're doing a dark field piece, or also for applying the monotype base if you're doing a light field piece. These tools are couching tools. They are great to press out excess water from the paper when it's soaking for a light field print. On the top shelf is all of the inks and water-soluble mediums that I have set aside just for monotype printing. There's also some oil-based ink for the dark field printing. So in here on the left we have a whole bin of the Createx inks and then also the monotype Createx base that you need for the ink to release from the plate into the paper. So those all stay in this bin. And then there's tools for removing ink. So that is typically used with a dark field print where you're spreading the oil-based ink onto the plate. But you could also use these in a light field print if you put too much ink onto the plate and you wanted to remove some and create some different textures. You could use some of these tools. Then also for light field printing, there's these water-soluble crayons, which work really great directly on the plate. You can also retouch prints with these water-soluble crayons afterwards as well. And then we have Pelikan watercolors, which also really work well directly on the plate. They seem to be the only watercolor that can sit on the plate in place and not kind of like just run around all over the place. They'll stay in the spot where you paint them on, so that way the image that you paint on the plate will be controlled and able to go through the press and transfer onto the paper. So there are some of those. And then for working with the oil-based ink, there's gloves in here, just because that does get really messy because it's oil-based. So to clean it off, it's best to use like baby oil to get that off of your hands and also off of the plate. So if you would like to avoid the whole process of having to clean your hands with a lot of baby oil, you could wear gloves. And then in the very, very back here, I also have a carton of wheat paste, which works for a process called chine-colle. Chine-colle allows you to, while you're making a print through the press, also fasten the paper that you're printing on onto a more sturdier surface. So it allows you to be able to print on more fragile paper like rice paper or tissue paper, or create almost like a collage and a print in one. So that's something that you can play with later on. So I just wanted to introduce you to the supplies that are in this cabinet for monotypes.